So we've had 2 more live-action remakes of Disney animated classics this year, Snow White and Lilo and Stitch. I haven't seen either of them, and I never will. I was done with these Disney remakes years ago. By the end of 2018, I was already so sick of this trend that I decided to bestow upon these movies the worst fate possible. I put all Disney remakes from that point forward on my own personal blacklist, which means, in the words of Erod the Blockbuster Buster, I will not see them, I will not review them, and I will not talk about them. It was Erod who inspired me to do this when he made a very similar decision regarding the DCEU. I'm making this video just to explain these movies' absence from any reviews on my channel, and after this video I will not be discussing them again. You see, I've had enough of Disney using their classic catalogue as a means to make a quick buck. They clearly don't care how special the original is to anyone, and to them there's no such thing as leave well enough alone. They will continuously exploit the audience's nostalgia and take advantage of familiar titles just for the sake of making money. And most of the time it's painfully obvious how much they don't care. They don't even tell the story in a new way, preferring instead to just rehash the original almost note for note. I know there are plenty of other reasons to criticize Disney these days, but this was already my thought process even in 2018. This all started with 101 Dalmatians in 1996. It sucked. Then there was Alice in Wonderland in 2010, which I haven't seen, but I've heard it's a hot mess. Then, starting with Maleficent in 2014 is when the floodgates really opened. I hate both 2015's Cinderella and 2017's Beauty and the Beast with a fiery passion. Even 2018's A Wrinkle in Time is a theatrical remake of a Disney TV movie. In fact, of the Disney remakes I've seen so far, there are only 2 that I enjoyed. The Jungle Book 2016 is pretty good, but mostly from a visual effects standpoint. The story itself is far more cynical and nowhere near as enjoyable as the original. And Pete's Dragon, also 2016, is a legitimate improvement on a movie that, at least in my view, is not very good. Even when I was a kid, I thought the original Pete's Dragon was corny and pandering. Now, you might think that the best way for me to express my displeasure with these movies would be to write scathing reviews. No. The purpose of a movie is to be seen and experienced by people. When you go to see a movie, you're supporting it by giving it money. When you review a movie, no matter how bad it is, you're drawing people's attention to it. You're promoting it. So the best way you can hurt a movie's chances of success is to completely ignore it. That's what happened with Gem and the Holograms. People saw the trailer, decided no thanks, stayed away from it, and the movie bombed. Now, just to make something perfectly clear, I'm not trying to boycott these movies or insist that you follow my example. If you still want to see the upcoming Disney remakes, go right ahead. But I, for one, refuse to support this stretch of creative bankruptcy any longer. So you might be wondering, aside from all the post-2018 Disney remakes, what else is on my blacklist? The answer is only 3 other sets of movies. Firstly, Pokémon. Yeah, sorry, but I just do not care about this franchise. I never have. Even as a child, I wasn't interested. Well, full disclosure, I did buy the official Pokémon handbook just to see what all the fuss was about, so I had some knowledge of the original 150 creatures, but still never actually watched the show. A few years ago, my roommate showed me the first couple of episodes, and it didn't grab me. The closest I've come to watching the movies is former Channel Awesome producer Suede's crossover reviews, and even then I can barely follow what's going on. Even when I watch top 10 videos from YouTubers like Josh Scorcher, I always either zone out or skip ahead whenever they get to a Pokémon entry. That's how little I care. I never got into Pokémon. I haven't seen the show or the movies or played any of the games, and I don't intend to start now. Sorry guys, but this is one franchise you'll never see mentioned on my channel. Secondly, the DC Extended Universe. This is the big franchise that Erod also blacklisted, and yeah, I think he has a point. I decided to give it a chance as far as Justice League, because that movie would supposedly be the Avengers of the DCEU, the payoff after 4 movies of build-up. Well, having watched that far, I officially declared this franchise to be a train wreck. I didn't like any of those first 5 movies, so I made up my mind to withdraw my support from that point on. No matter how many assurances I heard from people that the movies got better after that, I simply didn't want to watch that version of the beloved DC heroes. However, I only stood by that as long as the franchise was still ongoing. Now that that series, that era of DC movies, is officially over, I've been reconsidering my stance on avoiding it. James Gunn thoroughly brushed it aside with Superman, which I thought was a fantastic start to a new era, so the DCEU is well and truly in the past. As a result, this might be the only set of movies that I consider removing from my blacklist. I might eventually go back and watch them all in retrospect now that there's no more damage to be done. I still might not like them all, but at least I won't have to worry about them affecting the future of DC Comics characters on screen. And the final item on my blacklist is all future Michael Bay movies. Now, anyone who knows me is fully aware that Michael Bay is by far my most hated director. I've made no secret of my utmost disdain for his work, even in other videos. Not once has he ever directed a movie that I've rated higher than 3 out of 10. So you might be wondering, why did I continue to watch his movies? Well, believe it or not, I did go into each one with an open mind. I don't want to always think the worst of him. I'd love to be surprised. I'd like nothing better than to be proved wrong, to be able to proudly say, well guys, it's happened. Michael Bay actually made a decent movie. Well, I'm done with giving him that chance. I added him to the blacklist in 2018 as well, because his last few movies had crushed any semblance of hope I once had. Transformers 5 seemed like it was deliberately trying to be as annoying as possible, and with Pain and Gain in 13 hours, he had a chance to make legitimate, better movies free from the brainless blockbuster sensibilities. If he couldn't even get those right, then I officially give up all hope. So now my philosophy is just say no to Michael Bay. So to recap, my blacklist consists of Pokémon, the DCEU after Justice League, though consider that one written in pencil rather than permanent marker, and all Disney remakes and Michael Bay movies as of New Year's Eve 2018. Those are the only movies that I refuse to ever watch, and this video is the last time I'll ever mention them. Everything else is fair game. You know, it occurs to me that I've now made 2 miscellaneous videos on movies, both with a decidedly negative approach. First the very few movies I call overrated, and now this. Well, there'll be another of these coming in November, and I assure you that one will be much more positive. So if you made it to the end of this video and want to see me praise some movies next time, I hope you'll consider subscribing if you haven't already. So take care, and I'll see you in the next one.